The light from the east coast off your eyes screams, please don't go, 'cause I can't do this alone. And tonight, as I leave notes on the side of your bedpost, they all show signs of hope. And you say, sing to me slowly the words that you wrote me, each line racing through your mind. Will you wait for me after I fall asleep? So let's live in this day. I know you're dying to say it. Let's just live in this moment and pretend like we own it. We will all grow older, but with you here I'll die slower. Sing to me slowly the words that you wrote me, each line racing through your mind. Will you wait for me after I fall asleep? We will all grow older, but with you here I'll die slower. We will all grow older, but with you here I'll die slower. Marry me on this boat, tied to a rope in the ocean, so far out to sea no one will ever find us where we're going. Let's toast to the great unknown, fingerprints mark where we grew. As I write to you, knowing these notes won't find where we're
Hey, crank that dance. Why me crank my dance? Why me do? Hey, crank that dance. Why me crank my dance? Why me do? Hey, crank that dance. Why me crank my dance? Why me do? Hey, crank that dance. Watch me crank my dance. Oh, you hey, crank that dance. Watch me crank my dance. Hey, crank that dance. Watch me crank my dance. Hey, crank that dance. Watch me crank my dance. Hey, crank that dance. Watch me crank my dance. I fall up in the club, crank my dance on that hoe. I'm scoping at the scene, then I hit the dance flow. Y'all already know what it is, what the beat be. Soulja Boy ain't got no money, hell nah, you must be shitting me. But hit me on the net so I can show you where I'm from. Type it in, Soulja Boy, tell them .com. But back to the top, don't do my dance on that hoe. I can crank my two-step and then I do the merry-go. Hey, crank that dance. Why me crank my dance? Why me do? Hey, crank that dance. Why me crank my dance? Why me do? Hey, crank that dance. Why me crank my dance? Why me do? Hey, crank that dance. Watch me crank my dance. Oh, you hey, crank that dance. Watch me crank my dance. Hey, crank that dance. Watch me crank my dance. Hey, crank that dance. Watch me crank my dance. Hey, crank that dance. Watch me crank my dance.
I'm in the club wildin', now why me G? Now why me G? And now he all smiling because he did, because he did. And you can keep trying, but you can't get that. I can't do it like him. I been did that shit. Go well, I'm working the scene. Watch me rollin', watch me lean. All the hoes be jocking me, 'cause all the clothes I'm rockin' clean. All I smoke is lots of green. TC bout to bring it, man. You done seen me crank the club, gonna watch me crank my dance.
Hey, crank that dance. Why me crank my dance? Why me do? Hey, crank that dance. Why me crank my dance? Why me do? Hey, crank that dance. Why me crank my dance? Why me do? Hey, crank that dance. crank my dance. Hey, crank that dance. Watch me crank my dance. Hey, crank that dance. Watch me crank my dance. Hey, crank that dance. Watch me crank my dance. I fall up in the club and I'm in my max stance, and everybody screaming, "Soldier boy, do your dance, do your dance, do your dance, do your dance, do your dance." I fall up in the club and I'm in my max stance, and everybody screaming, "Soldier boy, do your dance, do your dance, do your dance, do your dance, do your dance." Hey, crank that dance. Why me crank my dance? Why me do? Hey, crank that dance. Why me crank my dance? Why me do? Hey, crank that dance. Why me crank my dance? Why me do? Hey, crank that dance. Watch me crank my dance. Oh, you hey, crank that dance. Watch me crank my dance. Hey, crank that dance. Watch me crank my dance. Hey, crank that dance. Watch me crank my dance. Hey, crank that dance. Watch me crank my dance. Do it. Soldier boy, tell him. Soldier boy, tell him